Hi, welcome back. This is the third part video of the Barcelona Pavilion visualization. Okay, in the first one we set up the scene. In the second one we assigned the more simple materials and moved on to adding a plinth material that required mapping. This video is going to cover the remaining materials and adding props to the scene, which is additional items like people, cars and trees. So the next material we'll look at is the marble material to go on this wall that sits in the middle of the building. Okay, so we'll copy the mapped material that we've got here and use that as the basis. So we'll copy plinth across to the next one and we'll rename it straight away. You can't have the same material used with the materials with the same name used twice in a scene. They have to be unique names. So this is going to be marble onyx. This is a kind of a red appearing marble. Okay, so all we need to do here is really just swap the pictures over. So for marble onyx, we're looking for the material maps, the pictures that make up this material. So we'll change the base color JPEG and find its full name again. And we'll change this to Onyx Marble Diffuse. And open. Okay, if I preview that, you can see it's still using the bump map from the floor material. Okay, so we need a map, the bump map that works with this shape. So we go back up to the parent and we want to swap the bump map now. So we look for the name of the file again. Okay, and we'll use this one. Okay, so things should change. There we go. So it looks like this joint line here has been pushed in. It's just a visual illusion. Okay, go back to the parent, and this is a more polished material. Okay, so we're going to make the clear coat a bit stronger. Okay, so 0.3 for the clear coat should make it a bit glossier. Okay, and reflection roughness, take that down, so that should make it more shiny. Okay, so you see it appear more shiny. Okay, so we'll go with that, and we're assigning it to this object only. So select the wrong object. Well done. It's this one, the smaller wall marble pink. Okay, assign the material, and then it's straight back into that same process. You modify it, UVW map it. Okay, it's projecting it from above. That's planar mapping. We want box mapping. Okay, the pattern is getting repeated far too often because the computer's taking control. So we take this tick off. Now that's very close to what we need. The height's good, it's fitting the height, but the width is a bit too wide. It's not realistic in comparison to the real model. Okay, so the mapping, okay, we'll take over, and we want length 4.625, width 4.625, and the height can stay at 3. So either press enter or click in one of the boxes to make it change. Okay, let's look at this in a bit more detail. I'm going to spin this round. Okay, it's the end of the wall that I'm interested in. Okay, so it's showing a joint line at the very end of the wall. That looks a bit strange. You don't think you'd really build it like that. So what we'll do is we'll move the box slightly forward. So you activate the mapping coordinate there, get your move tool if it's not selected already, go to the gizmo, and you'd be moving it on the green arrowhead. So you should see the pattern change. So that looks a bit more sympathetic. Now don't forget, you need to click back on this to switch it off. Okay, so that object is completed. We can hide that one. Okay, it's a bit trickier with this one because it's in two parts. Okay, it's the same layer has become an object, but it's in two parts. So let's click on the object, and firstly let's just change its color. We can change the color of the line work to green. Okay. Okay, but what we need to do here is split these into two bits so we can control them individually. And you do that by modifying the object, and generally if it's come from outside, the software adds this to it straight away, expecting you to need to do some little tweaks. Okay, if editable mesh isn't showing up here, you add edit mesh as a modifier. Okay, but it is showing up here, so we're okay to go. Okay, I'm going to add 002 onto the name. Then I'm going to copy it. Right click, copy. We're going to break off some of the faces. Okay, so let's select these faces. Okay, they go red. We can detach them, and then you paste back in the name, but change it to 1. So we've got green marble 1, green marble 2. Okay, remember to switch this off so that you get control of the objects again, so we can add materials. Okay, copy your marble onyx, and let's call it marble green. Click on the object, assign the material. Okay, we haven't swapped the pictures though, forgetting what I'm doing here. We just need to swap the diffuse, the base color material. Okay, so find the name of the material, green marble this time, open. Okay, we can't see the picture there yet because the UVW mapping isn't applied. So we modify the object, UVW map, real world map size, take the tick off, box mapping. Okay, it looks pretty good, but that's not the way the object works. In the building there are 3 panels in the height. This is only showing 2. Okay, they're also much too big, they're just fitting the size of the object. At the end of the wall you can see it squeezed the mapping. So let's change the numbers to what works with the JPEGs we've got. Okay, so here we need 4.04, width 4.04, height 2. Okay, problem here is that it's shrunk to the middle of the object, so we've got half a panel, full, full, half. What we need to do is move this box down half a panel, which would be half a meter. So you click on the mapping control. Okay, now if you wanted to, you could take half a meter off this number, so you could make that 2.2. That would work. Okay, I'll undo that and show you a different way. Okay, if you press F12, okay, so we could change this to 2.2, it would work. We could change this and say minus 0.5. Okay, so there's lots of ways of doing that. You could also just do it by eye. Now, 3D Studio isn't an exact science really. You can do things by eye. Okay, just show you that. So undo that. Go to a side view. Maximize this. And all we're needing to do here is line up the yellow line here with the pink line there. So by eye, obviously it's not as accurate, but we just move it down, zoom in closer, and keep moving until the yellow line sits on the pink. and that gives you the same effective result, but just not quite as accurate. Okay. Remember to switch this off to lock the position. Okay, so that's looking good. So we could use the mapping here as the basis for this one. So we go to the other object, assign the material, modify UVW map, acquire from this object, acquire absolute. Okay, but what we need to do now is move the mapping icon into this corner. So we want to take control of this. Probably the top view would be the most sensible. So we take control of the mapping icon and just watch what happens when we start moving this. Okay, it doesn't affect this one because we've done absolute. If we'd done relative, this would be changing as well. Okay, so we drag it into the corner, zoom in closer, and we can position this just outside the lines. Okay, that way we won't get a joint mark showing in the wrong place on the top of the wall. Okay, remember to close the mapping. Okay, and these two items can now be hidden. So we hide selected, hide selected. Not much left now. Okay, but we do have a bit of a problem with these walls. Okay, this one has more panels, has 3 panels in height, whereas this wall and this one only have 2. Okay, so we need to break this one off. So click on the object. Okay, let's give it a color. Let's make it yellow, a bit nearer the color of the material. Modify. Okay, let's add 002 to the name. Copy the name. You can right click and copy if you wish. Okay, we want to break off some of the faces. So we grab the faces. Okay, now this denotes how the windowing will work. At the moment we're on a crossing window. Okay, if you click that, that's the more gentle window. Okay, now holding the Alt key lets you take away from a selection. There's a very small minus symbol at my cursor. So Alt removes and Control adds. Okay, Alt takes away, Control adds. So we're just splitting off this wall, and working from the top is much easier than the sides because things are a bit more complex in the side views. You're not sure which bits you're getting. Okay, so remember we detach that, paste in the name, change the name to 1 and OK. Switch off this face level indicator, otherwise we won't be able to add the UVW map modifier. So we'll do the second wall first. Okay, so click on the wall, modify. Well, we haven't assigned the material yet, we haven't created the material yet. So I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. So let's create a material. Okay, it's going to be based on this. So let's drag it into the next one. And this is marble travertine. Okay, similar shininess, but we want to change the material maps here. So the diffuse, the base color, find the name of the map. Okay, and this is a larger JPEG this time, 2400 by 900. So it's the travertine marble diffuse, and open. Okay, go back up to the parent, find the bump map. We need to use the bump map that suits that. So click on the name of the bump map, find its full path name, and we want travertine marble bump. Let's just right click and preview that before we go any further. And you can see this is 4 panels wide by 3 panels high. Okay, so fits, and this is 900 millimeters in, 900 pixels high in that direction, 2400 pixels in this direction. Okay, so we want to try and retain that same proportion with the sizes we put in for the material mapping. Okay, so open that and it will correspond onto the material. So it looks like the joints are getting pushed in. We've got a bit of reflection here with the polish on the marble. Okay, let's use this view. So we're assigning it to this wall first. So assign the material. We want to UVW map that. We want box mapping, but we don't want the computer to decide. Okay, now what I want to show here is the panels repeat the image repeating 3 times. So instead of us putting numbers in here, okay, we'll change this. We'll do a bit of a combination of numbers and the number of repeats. Okay, so the mapping size is going to be length 6.15. Okay, you see that's a third of the width. Okay, and we'll leave the height at 3. Okay, but for this distance I want to repeat the picture 3 times. So watch what happens when we change the U tile to 3. Okay, so it's repeated the picture 3 times in this direction, but only once in that direction. Okay, the end of the wall is showing a joint mark, so let's take control and slide the mapping forwards a little bit to get rid of that joint. Looks like a marble goes around the corner now. Switch off the mapping. Okay, the other travertine here is getting the same material, but we're just going to make squares instead of rectangular panels. So square panels instead of rectangular. So we want to UVW map this. Box mapping again. Take off real world map size. And here we want 6 by 6 by 4.5. That's going to make the panels into squares. But you can see here we've got part panel, full panel, part panel. So it's half, full, half. So we need to drop this in height by 0.75. Okay, so you could do that here. We could make this 1.95. Oops, fell into my own trap there. We need to activate this first, so it undid, and then you activate this first. Okay, 1.95. Or do it by eye, or press F12 and take 0.75 off the Z distance. Okay, it will be good here to have a full panel to start the wall with, so we've still got control of it. So as you can see, if I move this around, I'm going to bring it to the corner of the wall and just oversail it slightly, just so I don't end up with a joint mark near the corner. Okay, remember to switch this off and it's ready to go. So there's only one material left. Okay, well, it'd be good to see this when we render this to see it work properly. So this is going to be a reflective water material. So let's bring back on everything else. So display, unhide all. Okay, so it's looking a bit more business-like now, and we've just got the water material to deal with. Okay, so materials editor. A good starting point for water is glass. So I'm just going to drag the glass into the next slot and rename it to water. Okay, the difference here is that there's going to be a bump map added to the glass. So we're looking for a bump map, bitmap. It's this strange image, and open. Okay, we don't want the computer to decide, so we take use real world scale off. We want to see the bump map in here. Okay, the finished glass material is going to be a bit difficult to see. It'd be better to see the bump map. Okay, so we can show the material, but if we do it at this stage, it will show the bump map. Okay, go back up to the parent. Notice that's switched off now because it's previewing at bump map level. Okay, make the strength of the bump map 0.2. Okay, and now we want to make it look a bit more like dark water. Okay, so it's a case of the transparency and translucency kind of colours. Okay, so transparency, if we make that 0.75, and we'll choose a darkish grubby yellow for this. Okay, so something in this kind of colour area. Okay, it looks a bit strange here still. Don't worry about that. Okay, maybe make it a little yellower, a little greener. Okay, water that's been sitting around for quite a while does look a bit messy. Okay, so that should work okay. Okay, click on the object, assign the material. Okay, it needs UVW mapped, so modify UVW map. You can see the map showing up now. It's repeating it too small, so take real world map scale off. Okay, and we'll use a size of 5 by 5. So that's how the water is going to behave. Okay, so I think at this stage we should try a render and see what we've got. So I'll start the render going. We'll give it a bit more time this time though, because we've got more materials. We want it to look a bit more realistic. So I can close the materials editor, go to render setup. Okay, and let's make it a bit bigger now. Let's double this. If I want to keep that proportion, put the lock on here. So whichever one of these we change, the other one will respond. So 2000 by 600. Okay, it's going to save the file. It's going to drop it on my desktop. That's okay. I'll keep the same name. Okay, but the difference here is the length of time I want it to render. So I'm going to ask it to go for a high quality render, but only give it 5 minutes to get there. So whichever one gets there first will win. Okay, so we'll start the render and we'll come back to it once it's nearer the end. Okay, so it's hit render. Just make sure it starts running. Also make sure you've chosen the right viewport. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and start it again once the render's finished. Well, actually, I'm going to cancel the render just now because it's looking too gloomy. Well, now we've added the materials, it's looking a bit dark. So I'm going to cancel that, cancel the render, and to make it a bit lighter, generally go to rendering, exposure control, and let's drop this to 14. That should give us a boost in the lighting. Okay, so let's render that now. Once it starts, we should see a change there. It's much crisper, a bit lighter. Okay, so I'll pause the video just now and come back in nearly 5. Okay, you can see the render is very nearly finished. It's not going to quite get to the high quality level in the 5 minutes. So rendering time just 6 seconds left. And that's it, finished. Okay, we can zoom in on this and it's looking much crisper than previously. Got better materials all around. We've got subtle reflections here. Pretty strong reflection from the horizon showing up here. But it's a nice starting point, you know, for an image. The water looks quite credible, quite realistic, and just in a little bit of ripple on it. It's not an ocean with big waves. We're seeing the reflections working. And we're seeing the transparency here, looking through the glass, through another pane, another glass, out to the sky again. Okay, quite a glint here, quite a highlight where the sun is hitting the top of the wall and reflecting onto the white. You know, it's very realistic, very subtle. Got a little gleam at the top of the column there where the light is reflecting in amongst all the chrome. You know, it looks much more realistic. Okay, so that takes us to the end of video 3. We'll do a 4th video actually. This one took a bit too long, about 25 minutes. So the 4th video will show you adding the props to the scene.